This is the true astrological new year. We've had already two new years. 2025 was the new calendar year. Then we had Gate 41, which is the Rave New Year. And now we have the astrological new year as we are going into the springtime and we are moving into Aries. So we are going to have a way of walking the wheel with the inner circle, which is not only the people are in the monthly membership, but who come in for a year. So there's a kind of grand opening that we are doing that is going to be way less in price than when we did portals of deconditioning and people came in for a year. But still, it's going to be a container that is way more tight and committed than if people are just on the call here or in the membership. And what we are longing for with Ashley is that we feel like it's way different to work with human design, Gene Keys astrology in a passive way of taking in than it is to be part of it. And Jose and Mary and some of the people that have been with us for a long time, like it's really when you start to massage the systems, you bring in the transit, you bring it into your life, that's when things start to happen. And it's so much more fun to do it together in a committed way than to just see names in a chat and not know who's there. So that's what we are longing for. But of course, this is like the first little touch that we can get on Tuesdays when we come in and we can discuss the transits together, because that's the first awareness of what it is to walk the wheel, to understand the transits, and to weave the systems. So that's what we're doing. It's Tuesday, and here in the States this morning, we changed, or the sun was changing from gate 36, where it's been for 5.7 days, into gate 25, where it's going to be for 5.7 days. So that's the whole way that the sun goes around the wheel. It's 365 days, it's 64 gates, so it takes 5.7 days for the sun to go through a gate. So there are some weeks when we have two gates. So right now we are on that cusp, and this cusp is extremely important right now this year because we have Saturn and we have Neptune that is going over this 0 Aries point. So Pisces, the 36, and then in the middle of the 25, we have the cusp between the last sign Pisces and the first sign Aries. And we have the outer planets. Neptune takes 165 years to go around the wheel. So it was 165 years ago that Neptune passed the 0 Aries point. And this year, like I said, we also have Saturn, which has to do with the harder work and the lessons that we're here to learn. And at the same time, we have the North Node. And the North Node stays for a year and a half in a sign. So there is 18 years between the times the North Node come here. And the North Node is in 36 right now, at the very end. So that's like around this 36-25 point, we have the North Node, we have Neptune, and we have Saturn. And right now as well, in the closer planets, I'm gonna bring up the chart. We also have Mercury and Venus who are going retrograde over this point. And that started after the lunar eclipse, the total lunar eclipse. If you were in the States, you could see it last week. And it's even if you couldn't see it with a naked eye, right? It's still happening for all of us. This is also why to just look at the human design just now chart doesn't tell us much. This would be the just now chart. I look at the body graph, I can look at the numbers and see that some of them are the same, doesn't say much. When we go to include the wheel, that's when we start to see the true geometry of things. So we always want to have this bi-wheel, which is genetic matrix, that has all the gates, gene keys, or hexagrams on the inside, and then it has all the astrological signs. So wherever point in the wheel, we can see both the gate and the astrological sign. So this is exactly what we are speaking about. So here we have the sun, here we have Saturn, and here we have the North Node. They are all here on this cusp between Aries and Pisces. And we also have Venus and Mercury that are going retrograde, so back. Remember, everything moves counterclockwise. So going from Aries back into Pisces in the next months and then coming back over. So this very cusp, the last part of the wheel, the first part of the wheel, that's where everything is happening. It is helpful to see what's going to impact us in terms of the human design definition with the neutrino stream. So you can see that 36 is part of the connection with Jupiter. So not only do we have the North Node and Saturn, and we've had the sun there this week, we also have them connect to Jupiter, which is the sign that makes everything bigger, that expands everything, right? And that's also something that we're going to do soon for those of you that have been interested in business by design. We have a bundle where we're working with Strategy and Authority and the 2 different Jupiter activations in your own chart. And we're calling this expansion codes. So that's the way I wanted to start today, rather than starting with the presentation. And the free webinar that is taking you into Aries season. Ashley and I are going to speak about the 6 archetypes that are in that part of the wheel, which is the 25 and the 17 and the 21 and the 42 and the 3 and the 51. Those are the archetypes that live there. Okay, so enough about the transits. We'll come back to them and focus on them in our conversation today. And we will now look at 25 because we've already been in 36. We're looking at it together from an archetype, human design, gene key, and astrology perspective. So here we have a depiction of the 25, the blood. I would say this is the 46, the chalice, and then the blood is the 25. But they are connected, they are programming partners. So we are in the innocent archetype in transit from March 18 to March 23rd. This is the gate of the spirit of the self. This is the hexagram in the I Ching of innocence. In the gene keys, we have the shadow of constriction, the gift of acceptance, and the city of universal love. As I usually say, we have the middle word, which is the gift, but that's also the pathway. So we are not here to always be our cities, because that's kind of beyond time, beyond embodiment. And when we can anchor into the gift, that's really the human pathway, where we can be role models with integrity for others. So here we're looking at gate 25 from an I Ching perspective. And you're going to see that the way that the I Ching works is that in this wheel that we've been looking at, there are 8 different elements, and they're all coded by a trigram. So right now we are in the part of the wheel. We just went from fire into thunder in the bottom trigram. So that's what all these gates that you see here are going to have on the bottom. And in this specific case, we are going to have thunder on the bottom and heaven on top. So creative heaven over arousing thunder. And when we have heaven over heaven, that is the same as gene key or hexagram 1. When we have thunder over thunder, that's the same thing as hexagram or gene key 51. So we could say that the energy of the 25 is a combination of the energy of the 51 and the 1. So that means that the shadow of constriction is the entropy of agitation. The gift of acceptance is fresh initiative, and the city of universal love is the beauty of awakening. Here we're looking at the 25 in terms of the astrological signs, and we have it, like we said before, it's on the cusp. So this is one of the gates that has 2 signs in it. So part of it is mutable water. Pisces, the water that we are made of, the mystery that connects us to one heart and the waters through which we merge. Pisces is the archetype of the healer, the bodhisattva, the mystic, and the poet. And in Pisces, we have service to spirit as compassionate healer and mystic merger. And then the other side of it, where we have Aries, and Aries is cardinal fire. It's the spark that ignites the fires of pioneering purpose. And here in Aries, we have the archetype of pioneer, warrior, adventurer, and it's service to others in the way of the warrior's will. We see the cusp. We see that Mars is the ruler of Aries and Neptune is the ruler of Pisces. So a lot is going on inside of this one hexagram. We are in the court of initiation, where the purpose is fulfilled through the mind and where ideas get birthed. So I was speaking with Rob this morning, and he said, this is the part of the wheel that is the child. And I'm like, yeah, it's that court of initiation. It's where it starts. It's where we have that channel 51, 25 as the only channel. That's where it starts. Here we have the body graph. So the 25 is one of the G center gates, part of the vessel of love, for example. This center is about the self and the identity, the sense of direction. It's also about love. It's the shadow of me. It's the gift of self, and it's the city of oneness from Integral Human Design. And gate 25 is also called the spirit of the self. And here you have the other gates. And as you see here, this is the activation sequence or the incarnation cross of the Sphinx, and the activation sequence or the incarnation cross of the vessel of love. So those are the gates that live here. It's all of them are in one center, which is interesting. And then we have the harmonic gate. So in order for us to see the process, we cannot just look at a hanging gate. We need to look at the harmonic gate that creates the channel. And this is something that in molecular design, we really feel like it's the part of what's missing in the gene keys, that we don't see the full processes of the harmonic gates. And that's why integral human design is really cool, because it's bringing in a gene key language into the human design, and it's speaking about those processes. So wherever in your own body graph where you have a channel that's activated, there's an important theme, because the theme that's always going to be turned on in your life, in your being, in your mechanics, and you don't need anybody else to live out that theme. So whether you have one channel or 10 channels in your body graph. I don't know if you can have 10, but I've definitely seen people with 8, a lot of channels. So here we have the channel initiation, a design of needing to be first. The theme: your life is a series of leaps into the unknown. You have the spirit of a warrior, and you're here to learn how to walk your path on your own. Be courageous and blaze new trails and shock yourself and others along the way. For the innocent, some of the keywords is open-heartedness, faith, and spirit. For the 51, readiness, courage, and excitement. And here you have the whole spectrum for the whole channel. So when we have constriction and agitation, that's competition. When we have acceptance and initiative, that's uniqueness. And when we have awakening and universal love, that is initiation. So when you have only the 25 and not the 51, you're going to have things mainly from the outside, your life, the transits, other people that are going to shock you. And your role as the 25 is to be able to see these shocks more than anything as initiations, because if you close down and constrict and become cold, well, then you are not being initiated into anything. You're just trying to stop it. The other thing to know about harmonic gates and channels is that if you come together with another person with this channel, it's not necessarily that the person that holds the 25 is going to live out the 25. No, you both get access to both of these gates, which is why it feels so cool for most of us that are a little intense to have an electromagnetic with somebody else, because you don't only have this way of living out your own gate, you get access to the whole process. And then it might even be that you take on more of the other side than what you have activated in your own chart. And then we have the programming partners. So this is the other side of the wheel. We have the 25 and we have the 46. So if you have the 25 in your incarnation cross or activation sequence, you're also going to have the 46. Same thing if you have the 25 in your nodes in human design, you're also going to have the 46. They're mirror opposites, where we have the cusp of Pisces and Aries with the 25. And here we have the cusp of Libra and Virgo on the 46 side. And you also see that they are mirror opposites in terms of the hexagrams. So wherever the 25 has a yang line, you're going to see a yin line in the 46. And this is individual circuitry. And it's actually a cool little circuit that we have in the middle. So here we have the individual circuitry, where the key note is self-empowerment. And what you're going to see here, the centering circuit. So this circuit here in the middle with the 10 and the 34 on one side, and then the 51 and the 25 on the other side. So coming back to me, coming back to center, my empowerment, my initiation being first, the things that are really activating for the individual. So here we have another way of looking at it, but this time I believe it's quite similar to what we do, at least in the gene keys. So here the verb, so this is what Sergio is doing for all of them. He has a little way of creating an image where we have the top hexagram being the background and the bottom hexagram being the actual little person that's doing something. So this is the depiction of the 25, and the verb, I like it because it feels more in movement, more alive. So the verb is to accept. And here we can see a little bit more. So we see, for example, that there is a color coding. So he's speaking about the thunder hexagram as connected to Aries, and he's speaking about the heaven hexagram as connected to Leo. So that's what you can see here. The rulers of Leo is the sun, the ruler of Aries is Mars. That's also connected then to the first house, the first sign, the first house, the fifth sign, the fifth house. So those are together. And then what he's doing is that he's looking at the hexagram. So he says, okay, the background is white. That's the top hexagram. The bottom trigram is the actual body of the person, but there are also two hidden hexagrams. So if we look inside of this one and not look at the top one and the bottom one, the hidden trigrams is mountain and wind. So then it becomes this braid that we can extract. So the verb is accept, and this is the reason why, or the purpose of it, to open the door and step through. Because we have this Aries energy, we have this Leo energy. And then what we see, the recommendation from the hidden, the wind, and the mountain. So the hidden recommendation inside, that only if you can decipher the I Ching, you will be able to pull out, is to project alertness. And that's maybe not something that we are thinking about with a 25 usually. So that's another way of looking at it. It's funny though. It's actually not. I think we made a mistake when we were translating this. It's actually, okay, this sounds way better to me. So I'm reading it in Spanish. So project naturalness. That seems way more connected because of the 10 and the 25 and the G center gates. I think it's just wrong with alertness. So it should probably be project your naturalness. So accept, to open the door, initiate, step through, and then project your naturalness. That feels way more coherent. And here we have the lost octave. So this is Robert's work that we're doing with the star codons, for example, but here we're looking at just one gate, and that's still like a mystery school that you can come into if you want to, because we record everything if you would like to. So he is working with 4 different things. So if we have a lot of trinities in gene keys with the frequency band and the triangles of the star pearl, right? The involution, the evolution, that what's happening in the next iteration of what's coming through right now, 2025, as opposed to what came through in 2004 with the gene keys, is that there's 4. So you're going to see that a lot of the things that you find in the lost octave is 4, 4, 4, 4. So here we have 4 different ways, 4 different keynotes of working with a 25. Here, the kind of like highest frequency, we could say almost the city, but it's not really working like that, but the light of eternity. And to me, that feels so true because the 25 is my Venus and it's also my asteroid Lilith. And I also have a 6 line in my attraction sphere. So I believe that always coming back to innocence. That's all we can do. There's nothing else as human beings we can really do. Life happens, things happen, we get initiated, we get shocked, we fall down, and it could be easy to constrict and get hard. But the thing that we can do is to just come back to this dance of innocence. This dance before anything has gone wrong. If you like the 7 sacred seals, you know that this is the 3rd seal. And it has to do with breaking through whatever shame or failure, 3rd line, 3rd seal that can stay in the body, in the being, in the psyche. So here we are eternally coming back to innocence. And then it speaks about the integration of affection. And I like that as well on the cusp of Pisces, which maybe is what we think traditionally, where Venus exalts the feminine, the water, the Pisces energy, that it has that affection. But I also feel like here on the other side in Aries, there is the fire, the spark. So there is also this kind of affection that connects these 2 parts of the wheel and connecting it back to the programming partner in the 46, where we have the love of the body. So there is not only looking at spirit as the gate of spirit in the 25 and looking up and putting spirit on a pedestal. There is also this bring it back to the body, the love of the body, the love of like through sensuality of the 46. So that integration of affection. What is affection? How do we integrate that? And then transformation of fabrication. So we can think about fabrication as the opposite of innocence, right? It's fabricated. It's not true innocence. It's not true. And then that's also partly of what we need to, that's what the 25 can often see through. But in the shadow, it can use its innocence to seem innocent, but it's fabricated. So that's definitely something to look at here. What is true innocence? What is fabricated? What is true spirit? And then embodiment of beauty. So those are some other keynotes to play with as well for the 25.